Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me, First Person Arts. So, I also have a pandemic breakup story. This is also a Tom Hanks relatable breakup. I associate more closely with the movie Catch Me If You Can. I think that's my Tom Hanks breakup movie. No, but for real, I have a pandemic breakup, and it's weird to break up in a pandemic because you're like so much is taken away from us. We're so isolated, and then on top of that, we're like, yeah, I have this partner, but I probably don't need them. I think it'd be easier to date and meet new people than to continue to do this. That's how rough it was getting. So yeah, we had a pretty tumultuous relationship. We were like kind of on and off for over 2 years. We'd been friends before we started dating, so we were like, hey, like we're friends. We really care about each other. They're like, this has to work, right? Like we really like want this to work. We have great chemistry, but just sometimes personalities clash in a relationship. So we had a tough time. We started seeing a couples therapist like a couple of months before like the pandemic really took hold, and like we'd been making progress with our therapist. Like it's weird to see a therapist though. It's weird to see a couples therapist, especially since like one of our issues in our relationship is kind of like being like we'd argue about money, and it seems weird to be like, hey, we should pay someone about fighting about money. So we had our couples therapist, and then the lockdown happened, and we both kind of ended up in opposite situations with the lockdown. I'm an essential worker and a hero, so I continued to work. And then she was unemployed, and she kind of like a hypochondriac, so she was freaking out. She became like agoraphobic, trapped herself in her house, wouldn't come out, and she wouldn't really let me into her bubble. She wouldn't let me near her. She didn't want to risk exposing herself to me, which like you're absolutely entitled to that, but also it's kind of hard to maintain a relationship when you won't let your partner near you. We were suddenly like we lived 15 minutes apart, and we were essentially in a long distance relationship at that point. We're only seeing each other on the phone or Zoom. We're having Zoom sex, which I wasn't a fan of. Not a fan. Don't need to do that. Much rather do the real thing. But yeah, we had a really hard time dealing with that. And then we started arguing a lot. And we were like dealing with a lot in our now Zoom therapy sessions where she said, I wasn't trying hard enough and I wasn't putting enough work into the relationship. Like, dude, I'm literally doing your grocery shopping because you're too scared to leave the house. Like, is this not enough effort? Like, I'm in therapy with you. I'm putting a lot of effort, and you won't let me, like, in your bubble. You won't let me near you. Like, what can I do? So, we really struggled. It was 3 months that we lasted into the pandemic of trying to do the long distance thing. And every once in a while, she'd like give me a little flack. We'd go for walks, and she'd let me hold her hand after she thoroughly sanitized it. Um, yeah, she eventually, let me in her house a little bit, but then we like, all right, you've been here for 8 minutes. You need to go outside before you spread your particles around my apartment. It's like, all right, great. So we had a hard time, and then I had kind of had my two breaking points that were like, I was like, I don't think this is gonna work. The first was when we had sex for the first time in 3 months. We had in person masked sex, which I can't recommend. No kissing. It felt like very not intimate to not kiss your partner after 3 months and have sex. And like masked sex isn't for me. No, no, like not to yuck your yum if you're into that. If that works for you. That's great. But like maybe like a leather mask or like one of those eyes wide shut masks would be great. Like an N95 mask just feels like a really sad like make a wish fulfillment. Like you don't want to have sex in a N95 mask. So that was like a huge bummer. And then also in therapy, I brought up that I was having issues. Like I was like, when are you gonna like open your bubble to me? And her response to that was, I don't want to die for a man. And that's kind of hurtful when your like partner of like over 2 years says I don't want to risk death for this guy. And like, isn't that's like a trope in relationships, right? Like, would you take asking your partner, would you take a bullet for me? And then that's basically what I asked her is, would you take a bullet for me? Also, there's like a 1% chance the bullet will hit you. And if might just graze you, but there's really like less than a 1% chance the bullet kills you. And she's like, I don't like those odds. I'm not taking the bullet for you. No thanks. So I kind of got pushed to my limits and ended things. And then we did our final therapy session. We had already paid for that session, so we had to see him. And then he was like relieved. He was like, "Oh my god, you guys totally should have broken up. It shouldn't be this hard." I was wondering if he was ever going to tell us that, if we were just going to keep going, and he was just going to like, "All right, I'm getting paid, so I don't give a shit." So I think that's a lesson to take away from it: is it doesn't have to be this hard. If it's more work than it seems like it's worth, then just consider that and consider getting a therapist that's going to be honest with you instead of just taking your money. And that's my story, guys.